The email had no subject, no sender. Just a single attachment. My hand hovered over the mouse, my pulse drumming in my ears. I wasn't expecting an email like this, especially not at 11:47 p.m., long after my wife, Natalie, had kissed me goodnight and disappeared upstairs. For a moment, I hesitated. I had no reason to be suspicious of Natalie. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. We lived in a beautiful home in Connecticut, surrounded by neatly trimmed hedges and a neighborhood that looked like something out of a glossy real estate magazine. She was the woman I had built my life around, the person I trusted more than anyone. Natalie was more than just my wife, she was my best friend, my anchor. I met her 12 years ago at a corporate event in New York. She had walked into the room with effortless confidence, her blue silk dress catching the light as she smiled at the CEO of my firm. I was just a junior analyst back then, but when she looked at me, it felt like I was the only man in the room. The years that followed were nothing short of perfection. We built our lives together, our careers flourishing side by side. We traveled the world, Santorini sunsets, Parisian dinners, Maldives mornings waking up to the sound of the waves. Every memory felt like something stolen from a movie script. Even after a decade of marriage, I still found myself watching her when she wasn't looking, admiring the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the way she laughed when she thought no one was listening. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything. So why did I feel this deep, gnawing unease as I stared at that email? I clicked on it. No text, no explanation. Just a file named, "You need to see this.mp4." A slow chill ran through me. Something inside me screamed, "Don't open it." Whatever was in that file had the power to change everything. I exhaled sharply, glancing up the staircase. The house was silent. Natalie was fast asleep. I clicked play. The video didn't load immediately. The screen stayed black for several agonizing seconds, long enough for me to question everything. Maybe it was a mistake. A scam. A prank. Maybe someone sent this to the wrong email. But then, the screen flickered to life. My heart slammed against my ribs as the footage began. The quality was grainy, like it had been recorded from a distance, covert, deliberate. At first, I wasn't even sure what I was looking at. A luxury hotel suite. A panoramic view of the Dubai skyline glittered in the background, the kind of view you only get from the highest floors of the most exclusive penthouses. Arabic music played softly in the background, and there were voices, laughter, hushed conversations in languages I didn't recognize. Then, I saw her. Natalie. She stood near a marble bar, wearing a sleek black dress I'd never seen before. Her blonde hair was in loose waves, her makeup darker than usual, her lips painted a bold red. She looked breathtaking. Different. Unfamiliar. A man leaned in close to whisper something in her ear, his hand resting lightly on her hip. He was well-dressed, confident, someone who belonged in a place like this. She turned to him, smiling in a way that sent ice through my veins. Not just polite. Not just friendly. Intimate. My breath caught in my throat. I paused the video, my fingers shaking. This has to be a misunderstanding. Natalie had been on a business trip in Dubai last month. She told me she was meeting potential investors for her firm. I had barely questioned it. Why would I? She was the senior VP of a high-end real estate company, constantly traveling to London, Tokyo, and Dubai to close deals. It was nothing unusual. But this wasn't a business meeting. I swallowed hard and pressed play again. The footage cut to another scene, later in the night. The room was dimly lit now, filled with more people. Women in designer dresses, men with expensive watches, the clink of champagne glasses. A waiter in a crisp white uniform moved through the crowd, refilling drinks. Natalie was still there. Only now, she wasn't just talking. She was dancing. Not the casual, polite kind of dancing people do at work events. This was slow, intimate. Her body close to the man's, her arms draped lazily over his shoulders. The way he touched her, the way she let him. My stomach twisted violently. The video ended abruptly. No explanation. No name. Just undeniable proof that my wife was somewhere she shouldn't have been, doing things she shouldn't have been doing. I sat there, staring at the screen, my pulse roaring in my ears. For the first time in 12 years, I felt something break inside me. I thought back over the last few months. Had there been signs? Clues? Her late-night meetings. The sudden work trips. The way she guarded her phone more carefully than before. I had dismissed it all. Convinced myself that I was being paranoid. That she was just busy. That she loved me. But now, I wasn't so sure. I needed answers. And I knew exactly where to start. I sat there, gripping the edge of my desk, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The weight of the video crushed me, but my mind refused to accept it. This can't be real. It had to be a mistake. A deep fake. Some cruel joke. I checked the email again, searching for a sender, an IP address, a name, something to tell me who had sent this. Nothing. Just a blank sender field, like a ghost had delivered the message. Who would send this? And why? Before I could think, my phone buzzed on the desk. A text. Unknown number, now you know. A cold sweat broke over my skin. I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. My hands shook, but I forced myself to type a reply. Me, who is this? The 3 little dots appeared. Whoever it was, they were still there. Then the reply came. Unknown number, does it matter? Rage bubbled in my chest. Me, what do you want? Another pause. Then. Unknown number, I thought you'd want the truth. I could send more. I clenched my jaw, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. More. Was there more than just that one video? A part of me wanted to delete the message, throw my phone across the room, pretend I had never seen any of it. But another part of me, the part that was already spiraling into suspicion, anger, and a sickening need to know, needed to see everything. Me, send it. Seconds passed. Then another email notification. Another attachment. I swallowed hard and clicked on it. The video was shorter this time. No dancing. No talking. Just Natalie. She was inside a luxury car, the kind of high-end vehicle only owned by billionaires and oil tycoons. The man from the party was with her, sitting dangerously close. His hand rested on her thigh. She wasn't stopping him. She was smiling. Then she leaned in and whispered something into his ear. The music from the party was still playing in the background, but the words she said were clear as day. He has no idea. The video cut out. My stomach twisted, nausea washing over me in waves. Who was this man? How long had this been going on? I stared at my reflection in the dark computer screen. My face looked different, hollow, haunted. I had spent years believing I had the perfect marriage. A lie. Now, someone out there knew more about my wife than I did. And I needed to find out everything. I sat frozen, staring at the dark screen, feeling something inside me break. He has no idea. Her words echoed in my skull like gunfire. Natalie. My wife. The woman I had built my life around. She sat in that luxury car, another man's hand on her thigh, whispering in his ear, laughing. Laughing at me. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This is just the beginning. Are you ready for the truth? I sucked in a sharp breath. My hands clenched into fists. Every part of me wanted to throw my phone, smash my laptop, pretend I never saw any of it. But I couldn't. Me. Who are you? No response. A few seconds later, another email. Another file. I clenched my jaw. Every nerve in my body screamed, "Don't open it." But my hand was already on the mouse. I clicked. The image that burned me alive. A rooftop terrace. The unmistakable skyline of Dubai in the background. Golden lights shimmered over marble floors, and men in sharp suits lounged with drinks in hand. And in the center of it all, Natalie. She was wearing something else now, a red, form-fitting dress, almost obscene in its elegance. Around her sat three men, their gazes dripping with desire. One of them leaned in, whispering something against her ear. Then I saw it. The moment that shattered my world. She tilted her head. Smiled. And kissed him. Not a friendly, absent-minded kiss. Not an innocent peck on the cheek. A deep, slow, intimate kiss. My breath caught in my throat. I yanked out my headphones as if that would stop the images from burning into my brain. My pulse was pounding, my vision tunneling. No. No, this isn't real. This isn't happening. But the video wasn't over. The man took her hand and led her toward a dark hallway. She followed without hesitation, without looking back. And just before they disappeared behind a door, Natalie pulled out her phone. She glanced at the screen for a second. My name was on it. She didn't answer. She just turned it off. I don't remember when I stood up. 1 second, I was at my desk, staring at the screen. The next, I was across the room, my fists clenched so tightly that my nails dug into my palms. My chest rose and fell in ragged breaths, like I had just run a marathon, but I wasn't moving, I was drowning. The walls of my office felt like they were closing in. I pressed my hands against the desk, willing myself to stay upright, to think, to do something, but my mind was spiraling. This isn't real. This has to be a mistake. There's an explanation. There has to be an explanation. I grabbed my phone and scrolled to Natalie's name. My thumb hovered over the call button. She was upstairs. Sleeping. Dreaming peacefully in our bed while my entire world was collapsing. I wanted to storm up there, shake her awake, demand to know the truth. But what would I even say? What excuse could possibly explain what I had just seen? My stomach twisted. She had looked at my name on her phone before she disappeared into that room. She saw I was calling, and she ignored it. I felt sick. With shaking hands, I pressed the heels of my palms against my eyes, willing the burning sensation to go away. But the images wouldn't leave me, the way she kissed that man, the way she followed him, the way she smiled. The worst part wasn't just that she had betrayed me. It was that she looked so comfortable doing it. A hollow, bitter laugh escaped my throat. For years, I had believed I was the luckiest man alive. Natalie was beautiful, intelligent, successful. People envied our marriage, called us the perfect couple. Now, all I could think was, had it ever been real? Was I just some fool, playing house while she lived another life behind my back? The rage came fast and hot. I grabbed the nearest thing, my coffee mug, and hurled it across the room. It shattered against the wall, ceramic shards raining onto the floor. For a moment, I just stood there, panting. Then, I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, hesitant, coming down the hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs. I barely had time to compose myself before the door cracked open. Natalie stood there, wrapped in a silk robe, her blonde hair slightly tousled from sleep. She blinked at me, her expression groggy, confused. Jake. Her voice was thick with sleep. What are you doing up? I stared at her. The woman I had loved for 12 years. The woman I thought I knew. The woman who had looked another man in the eye and kissed him like I didn't even exist. I swallowed the lump in my throat. My voice came out hollow. Couldn't sleep. She frowned, glancing at the broken mug on the floor. Did something happen? Something happened. The rage surged again, white-hot and blinding. But I forced it down. Not yet. Not like this. I exhaled slowly. No. Just work stress. Natalie gave me a tired smile, stepping closer. She reached up, running a hand through my hair. You need to stop overworking yourself. The touch that once felt like home now felt like poison. I stiffened under her fingers. If she noticed, she didn't say anything. She just leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek. Come to bed soon, okay? And just like that, she turned and walked away. As if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't just destroyed everything. I stood there long after she was gone, my whole body rigid. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. First, I needed answers. And by tomorrow morning, I would have them. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft, steady rhythm of Natalie's breathing beside me. I used to love that sound. It meant she was at peace, safe, here with me. But now, it felt like a cruel reminder that while I had been wide awake, drowning in betrayal, she slept like nothing had changed. Except everything had changed. By the time the first rays of morning light slipped through the curtains, my mind was made up. I needed proof. Hard evidence. I slipped out of bed, moving carefully so I wouldn't wake her. In the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot, the dark circles beneath them deeper than usual. I looked like a man who had just learned his entire marriage was a lie. Time to find out exactly how deep the lie went. The bank statements. Natalie and I had separate accounts, but we shared a joint savings account for major expenses, vacations, emergencies, home renovations. I pulled up the banking app on my phone and logged in. There it was. A $9,800 withdrawal last month, labeled only as business expenses. Business expenses. Natalie didn't use our joint account for work-related costs. She had a company card for that. I clicked for more details. The money had been wired to an exclusive Dubai concierge service. My stomach turned. Concierge services in Dubai didn't just mean luxury cars and five-star restaurants. They meant private events. Elite parties. Access to things that normal people didn't even know existed. I gritted my teeth. She paid nearly 10 grand for that night. For him. The travel records. I accessed our frequent flyer account. Natalie had taken 4 international trips this year alone, New York, Paris, Tokyo, and Dubai. Dubai was the most recent. She was supposed to be there for a real estate investment summit. But the event schedule didn't match her travel dates. She had flown in 2 days early. For what? I already knew the answer. Step 3, her phone. I needed to get into her phone. Natalie was careful, she always had a passcode, always kept her phone close. But I knew she was a creature of habit. When she woke up and went downstairs for coffee, I waited. She left her phone on the nightstand. I grabbed it. Face ID. I turned the screen toward her sleeping face. The phone unlocked. My hands were shaking as I opened her messages. I scrolled. And there it was. A conversation with a saved contact named A. A, last night was incredible. You are a goddess. Natalie, you spoil me. I still taste the champagne. A, I can still feel your lips on mine. Natalie, you better. I don't do this for just anyone, you know. My vision blurred. I checked the call logs. Multiple late-night calls to the same number. I checked the photos. There was one from Dubai. A mirror selfie in that red dress. The caption? Just for you. I had all the proof I needed. Confrontation. By the time Natalie came back upstairs, I was sitting at the edge of the bed, phone in hand. She smiled. "Morning, babe." I didn't smile back. I lifted her phone and turned the screen toward her. The messages were still open. The color drained from her face. I watched it happen in real time, the way her expression shifted from confusion to shock, then to something colder. Carefully, she sat down across from me. "Jake," she said softly. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" My voice was eerily calm. "The money? The fake work trips? Or the fact that you've been sleeping with someone else?" She swallowed hard. Don't lie to me." I leaned in, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Not now." A long silence stretched between us. Then she sighed, pressing her fingers to her temple. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll tell you the truth." I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Because something in her voice told me that whatever she was about to say, was worse than I imagined. Natalie exhaled slowly, rubbing her temples as if trying to decide how much of the truth to give me. I sat still, gripping her phone in my hands, my knuckles white. Every breath felt heavy, like my lungs had turned to stone. "Say it," I murmured. "Tell me the truth." She met my eyes. And for the first time, I saw something new in her expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Relief. Like she was finally done pretending. "I was going to tell you," she said quietly. I scoffed. "When? After the next trip? Or the one after that?" She didn't flinch. "I didn't plan for this to happen, Jake." I stared at her. "You spent nearly 10 grand on that concierge service. You planned everything." A flicker of annoyance crossed her face, like I was an inconvenience. "I meant at first," she said, folding her arms. "It started in Dubai. That first trip last year. A few investors invited me to a private event, a place where," she hesitated. "Where certain people go for exclusive experiences." My stomach churned. "What kind of experiences?" Her lips parted, then pressed together. "High-end events. Networking. Power moves. It's not just about money, Jake. It's about influence. About knowing the right people." "Right," I said bitterly. "And who was he? An investor? A client?" She didn't answer immediately. And that pause. That silence. It told me more than words ever could. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "Oh my God." Natalie stayed seated, watching me carefully. "Jake, Who the hell is he?" I demanded. Her fingers twitched in her lap. "His name is Asad Al-Farouk." The name meant nothing to me. Until she added. "He's one of the top real estate moguls in Dubai. Billionaire. Owns half the city." My stomach dropped. I knew that name. Anyone in business did. He was powerful, ruthless, untouchable. And my wife? She had sold herself to him. "It's not what you think," she said quickly, reading my expression. "It's not just about sex." "Then what is it about, Natalie?" My voice cracked. "Because from where I'm standing, it sure as hell looks like you're a bought and paid for." "Careful," she warned, her eyes flashing. For the first time, her mask slipped. The woman sitting in front of me wasn't my wife. She was someone else entirely. "You have no idea what kind of world I've been in," she continued, her voice dangerously calm. "Do you think your job, your little consulting firm, matters in that world. The deals I've closed, the doors I've walked through. I've seen more power in one night than you will in your entire life. I shook my head, stunned. So this wasn't just an affair to you. It was a career move. A slow smile curled at the edges of her lips. I suppose you could say that. My pulse roared in my ears. You've been using me, I whispered. This whole time. Natalie sighed. It was never supposed to be like this, Jake. I did love you. But at some point. She trailed off, tilting her head. You stopped being enough. I felt physically ill. I had imagined 100 scenarios, temporary infidelity, reckless decisions, even drunken mistakes. But this? This was cold. Calculated. You're a monster, I said hoarsely. She just shrugged. No, Jake. I'm a survivor. Something inside me snapped. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her sitting there in silence. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. I drove for hours. Nowhere in particular, just away. Away from the house that felt like a crime scene. Away from the woman who had just looked me in the eye and told me I was nothing. The city blurred past my window, neon lights flickering in the rain. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My mind was running in circles, replaying every word she had said, every look, every lie. You stopped being enough. That was the moment I knew, Natalie wasn't my wife anymore. She was a stranger. A woman who had built an entire life behind my back. A woman who had smiled at me over dinner, kissed me goodnight, made love to me while knowing she belonged to someone else. I couldn't let her win. She had played her game. Now, it was my turn. By morning, I had a plan. I called the one person I knew could help me, Ethan Greer, my lawyer. Jake. His voice was groggy. Do you have any idea what time it is? I don't care, I said flatly. I need you to draw up divorce papers. Today. There was a pause. Then, Jesus. What happened? Just make it happen, Ethan, I snapped. And I want them filed before she even knows what's happening. Ethan hesitated. All right. But if you're serious, you need to protect your assets. If she fights this. She won't. How can you be sure? I glanced down at my laptop, where Natalie's Dubai transactions were open on the screen. I had spent the last few hours going through every financial record, every hidden transfer. She had laundered money through our joint account. And the best part? I had proof. I clenched my jaw. Because I have leverage. I walked back into the house just after noon. Natalie was in the kitchen, sipping her coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. She barely looked up when I entered. Morning, she said casually. Have a good drive? I stared at her. She was completely unfazed. Like nothing had happened. Like she still had control. I set my briefcase down on the counter. You need to pack your bags. She smirked. Oh. Kicking me out? Yes, I said simply. And you're going to go without a fight? She tilted her head, amused. And why would I do that? I slid a file across the counter. She hesitated before opening it. The moment her eyes scanned the first page, I saw it, the flicker of panic. You laundered money, Natalie, I said quietly. Through our joint account. Through fake real estate deals. And through his connections. Her hands tightened on the paper. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Oh, I think I do, I countered. This isn't just infidelity, Natalie. This is fraud. And if I send this to the right people, you won't just lose me. You'll lose your career. Your reputation. Your future. For the first time, she looked afraid. You wouldn't, she whispered. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Try me. She swallowed hard. I saw the calculations racing through her mind. She was cornered. Exposed. She couldn't win this one. Finally, she exhaled shakily. What do you want? She asked. Sign the divorce papers. No alimony. No assets. You walk away with nothing. She let out a cold, bitter laugh. You're ruthless. I shrugged. I learned from the best. A long silence stretched between us. Then, slowly, she nodded. She had no choice. I had taken everything back. 1 month later. The ink was dry. The house was mine. And Natalie? She was gone. I heard rumors that she had tried to go back to Dubai, but her ties had been severed. Her name? Blacklisted. I didn't care. As I stood on my balcony, overlooking the city, I realized something. She had thought she was playing chess. But in the end, I was 10 moves ahead.